Welcome to Side Draft Media. My name is Don. With me, my co-host Ryan. Boyd, we got something special cooking for y'all today. I can't wait to get into this. But at first, of course, we got to shout out our awesome sponsor. Mr. Don Tucker makes these incredible die-cast displays, 3D printed displays, man. He can make them in any team, any color, anything you want. He can make them. We got ours last week. We absolutely love them. As you can see, mine holds 124 scale diecast. Ryan's got his Christopher Bell DeWalt number 20 three-tile display right there behind him. These things are absolutely phenomenal. I love them. We're going to post his information, Mr. Don Tucker. We're going to post it down there in the description for you guys. Find his link, get a hold of him, and get you set up with one. You will not regret it. Ryan, I think we got ourselves a special guest joining us today, man. What do you got for me?
Absolutely, Don, and hello, everybody. It brings me great pleasure to announce yet another guest to the Side Draft Media podcast. This is exciting. Joining us today is an up-and-coming driver from within the NASCAR Truck Series and the ARCA Menard Series, Reaume Brothers, RBR, and CW Motorsports driver, Tyler Tomassi. So, Tyler, hey, there you are.
What's up?
Hey, welcome, Tyler, to the Side Draft Media podcast. We are very happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you were a little nervous with the weather that we've been having here, the Upper East Coast area with the hurricane, but you're home. Your flight went okay. You're settled in.
Yeah, the flight was a little rough, but I mean, we made it. So
yeah,
Man, if it's one thing I hate is flying, man. I am not a fan.
Yeah, me too. I get motion sickness so bad on them, it's not even funny. So
yeah, I just tense up. I can't. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I'll do it if I have to, but I'll avoid it if I can.
Isn't that ironic how you get motion sickness in a plane, but you can drive a race car at 100 some miles per hour without any issues?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
At least there's rubber on the ground.
Yeah, that's the thing. Once the plane leaves the runway, then that's when I start feeling sick. But
yeah. So Tyler, you are 21 years old, if I'm not mistaken. You recently just made your debut in the Craftsman Truck Series at IRP a few weeks ago with RBR. But you've been racing since you were 14, back in 2017, roughly. You got your start. You started cutting your teeth in the Bandolero cars, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And then the New England late model circuit. So 7 years of your youth, basically clawing through the ranks. So why don't we rewind a little bit to the start for, share with us how you got your start in racing and, how you became a race car driver.
Yeah, so the story's kind of interesting. I always tell the story, and everyone's kind of like, "This is an odd story," but basically, so my uncle had a Corvette and stuff, right? I know nothing about cars or anything, and because of that, I got into cars. And because I was in the cars, my dad wanted to bring me to this track that we live right next to called Seekonk Speedway. This was 2016, like about fall of 2016, one of the last races of the season. So my dad brought me there, had no clue what I was watching, like had absolutely no idea, just cars going in circles, but I didn't know what it was, but I liked it. So I got really into it. I was like, okay, I really like this. This stuff is really cool. But it was one of those things like, maybe I'll just watch it here and there. Not, I'm going to actually go out there and do it. So over the winter, as like a surprise, my dad got me a Bando. And now keep in mind, I have never driven a thing in my life. And 14, believe it or not, I think you guys know, is kind of late to start, it seems like.
It can be.
Like 5
I mean, anymore, we seen guys like Keelan Harvick in diapers racing quarter midgets. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be considered late. Yeah.
Yeah, at least for like bandos, because a lot of kids in bandos actually have a lot of experience racing go-karts and stuff. So
right.
But so he surprised me with that, and like I said, I've never watched NASCAR, only like stuff at Seekonk, which was like 2 races. So I basically had to go on YouTube and stuff and learn everything about the sport. But the first race didn't go very well because I had no clue what was going on. But the second race, we got a podium. 4th race, I won. and then won the Triple
Nice.
Crown Championship, and it just kind of kept rolling after that
Hell yeah.
for a bit, and then then the rest is kind of history.
Oh wow, that's
That is.
that's great. So so this year really, from my understanding, you had a lot of personal and professional growth within racing, a lot of seat opportunities. Um, so tell us a little bit about your first Craftsman Truck Series race. I mean, because that's got to be a wow moment
Yeah.
for you.
So a little funny story about this year is last year I was just racing at Seekonk late models, doing a few touring divisions like part time, but that was it. That was supposed to be my last year. So going into this year, wasn't supposed to race, right? But we kind of had a plan. A lot of people might think my dad paid for this stuff, but he didn't.
Mm.
Me and my girlfriend saved up for like 3 years to be able to afford to at least have a shot at this. And that's how we were able to get in the truck series. You know, we walked into Josh's shop, and thank you to him and everyone there for taking us seriously. Two teenagers walking in. Well, I'm 21, but she's 20. But walking in there and making something happen. But yeah, it's you always like look, you always think about this stuff and be like, oh, how great it will be to be there, and you'll be like, wow, this is so crazy. But when you're there, it's like it's very hard to live in the moment, especially with you know making two debuts in the same day. I was making my ARCA debut and Truck Series debut, so there was a lot going on, and yeah, it's a lot to take in. It feels kind of unreal, but it kind of settles in after the fact. Like the more I think about it and look at the pictures and the videos and the broadcast back and stuff, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this really happened. But yeah, it was a lot to take in, but I think it went pretty well, especially for doing 400 laps that night with two races.
Yeah, absolutely. That's insane, man. The pinch yourself moment comes after
Yeah,
the fact, but yeah, I mean that's a lot of driving in one day.
yeah, yeah.
Talk
The
to us a
ARCA
little
car.
bit. Being a young driver like yourself, talk to us what it's like walking down pit road as you're walking up to your race truck, and you're walking by guys like Ben Rhodes and Corey Heim, who's rattled off a bunch of wins this year, Christian Eckes,
Uh,
all these guys. What's that like, man?
yeah. So the week 2 weeks before when I went to Nashville, that's kind of when that hit me. Like, wow, these are the guys I'm gonna be racing against. But yeah, at the track, I mean, you know, yeah, we're walking down pit road, and you're just like, wow, we're really here right now. Maybe it didn't hit me as much as it normally would, just because I just ran 200 laps and I felt like I was gonna die because the ARCA race was kind of brutal.
Right.
So I was like, man, I gotta do another 200 laps. But as soon as I seen that truck, I was like, oh yeah, like all my energy came back because I was like, all right, this is what we came here to do.
Hell yeah.
Um, that it's intimidating, especially with it being a race that was really close to the playoffs, knowing how everyone's battling. But once you get out there, it's not really like, oh, there's so and so. It kind of feels like just another race, like just another guy you're racing against. It doesn't really feel like anything too crazy. Luckily.
And did
Wow.
anybody reach out to you, like any other drivers? Do they kind of embrace the new rookies that come in, or is it kind of everybody kind of still keeps to themselves? They don't want to let any secrets out or anything like that.
I mean, besides my teammate, um, in both ARCA and um, the trucks. Not really. I mean, I don't know if anyone really pays attention to what's going on. To be honest, the other
Okay.
drivers, they're probably just doing their own thing. So yeah, no, nobody had anything to honestly say, which is honestly good because I feel like the only thing they would have something to say is probably something bad if I made someone mad. So
Right.
no one was angry. No one came up to my car after the race, so that means I did something right.
There you go.
Now, I mean, do you have like a mentor in any of these series? Do you have anybody that you've been able to lean on for some guidance? I mean, because like you said, I mean, you made your first ARCA start and truck start in the same day.
Mhm.
There's got to be somebody in your ear. I mean, at least I hope there is. To kind of put your arm around on you and guide you through your day.
Well,
What's your support system like?
So one, I'm a first generation racer, so in the family, nothing. Nobody knows nothing about racing. I'm
Right.
that kind of. I gotta kind of. My dad's over here asking about what does this mean? Why are they doing this on a pit stop? So but at the racetrack, I had Caleb Costner, who owns CW Motorsports, who raced a bunch of ARCA races. He helped me out a lot, just kind of coaching me and taking me through how the day goes and stuff. And same thing with Josh Reaume with Reaume Brothers Racing, because he races a bunch too. He helped me out, and my teammate Lois Allen, he helped me too. So they were really helping. And I had, a really good spotter, especially for the ARCA race. I had Josh Williams, Ryan Blaney's old spotter
Oh,
from
nice.
last
Yeah,
year. So
He
familiar with Josh.
races
Yeah,
Xfinity, right?
no. It's a different Josh Williams.
yeah,
Okay,
that's a
that's my
different
mistake.
Josh. Yep.
Yeah. I was confused too at first. I was like, Josh
Right
Williams.
on.
Like, oh, the Josh Williams. Like, oh, okay. So,
But nonetheless, that's a championship spotter in your ear, so
yeah.
that's nice to have in your back pocket,
Yeah.
especially being green like you are.
Yeah, it really helps in ARCA, because I'm sure you guys watched an ARCA race, and it's like you're lapping people while getting lapped, and like there's like 3 tiers of like, you got guys who are really fast, and then you get guys who are like normal. Like I feel like I was in that like normal mid pack group, and then you got guys who are really slow, and it's like you just kind of get confused because it's like you're trying to get out of people's way while trying to go around guys. So it was good to have someone who could paint a picture so you didn't have to stare out your mirror the whole entire race.
Now,
Yeah,
talk to us about.
that is.
I'm sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, that I mean that is definitely good and helpful because I have seen that traffic situation in ARCA races can certainly be difficult to navigate. I'm sure. And for those not familiar with the ARCA series, you know, like Tyler just said, and that kind of goes into those tiers of teams that you know listen, at the end of the day in our sport, money is important, and you need that sponsorship support and all those things to get yourself into a ride, let alone get good equipment to run them, and be competitive. So and you see that divide a little bit in the ARCA series, like you mentioned. So it is definitely good to have somebody in your ear,
Right. And the experience level
navigating it.
too out there. Like you got guys who like really, there's a lot of guys you'd be surprised that like start in ARCA. Like they skip, like they like don't really race at all. And then you got
Wow.
guys either like me or like been racing in ARCA forever or have had like a million late model starts. So you got like everything out there possible. It's like multi-class racing, basically. It's like IMSA out there.
Right.
Wow.
Real
Uh,
quick, I'm super curious about, and I'm sure our viewers too. Kind of run us what it's like when you're inside the Craftsman truck and you're running up behind somebody with a famous name. It doesn't matter who it is. But do you notice the trucks around you, or do they all look the same to you? It's just the next truck to pass, or do you pull up behind someone? Let's say, for example, you see Chastain on the back window. Is that what kind of emotions are going through your mind when you're running this race?
So funny enough, Chastain was the only one I noticed for some reason. I had no clue he was in the race. He went
Awesome,
by me and I was like, "Oh wait, he's out here." And
awesome.
then he like pulled the slide job. But besides that, honestly, like I said before, like you would think it would be like that, but it just because maybe if you haven't raced as much, but because I've done so much late model stuff, I've actually raced against like Sammy Smith, Brandon Jones, those guys before in a late model
Okay.
stock. So it isn't my first time with Xfinity or truck guys, but um it was, what do you call it, like I said, you think it would like be like wow, but it really wasn't, because you're so focused and you kind of like it just feels like another race. But Chastain, I don't know why, but he was the only one that stood out. Maybe it's because he drove to the bottom of the racetrack and slid back up, and I was like, who's that? And then I was like, oh, I had zero clue he was in the race today. So
Wow, incredible, man.
so in a 7-year career, so far, and we're still grinding. I got to ask you, what's your favorite racing memory to date? I'm sure probably has to do with trucks, but what's your
yeah,
favorite racing memory?
um I don't know, probably it might be funny, but it was actually a race in the late model that I lost in the last lap, believe it or not. But it was just such a
Mm,
good race. It was like, so I made the jump from bandos to late models.
Wow.
Um, and it was rough for like 6 or 7 races, but it was like my 8th race, and I started on pole. I like wrecked myself lap 1, drove up through the field. Um, Yeah, it was rough the first year. I probably should have been in a late model, but I figured it out eventually. Um, what better way to learn, I guess. But
Right,
uh,
right. Throw
Yeah.
yourself in the fire, man. That's the only way.
Uh,
yeah, made a lot of people mad. But
Hey, that's racing, man.
so came up through the pack, passed the guy for the lead, and then you know, keep in mind, like I said, I just made the jump from a bando basically. Like, yeah, we're only like 8 races in, but we're shoving each other out of the way, and then I led the most laps, but on the last lap he moves me, and then we had like it was like one of the closest finish that track's ever had. I still think I might have won, uh, based on transponder locations because the picture shows me ahead, but the transponder said otherwise. But it was
Wow.
it was really close. We were like sideways across the line. Um, yeah, even though like
Controversy.
Is there video? Is there video footage of that?
it's somewhere online. It's like Seaconk doesn't have like the best like. Yeah, they upload all the races, but it won't be like titled like photo finish. It would just be like late
Just
models
okay.
with the date. So
We'll have to get our hands on that. If we can, we'll have to
yeah,
get our hands on
I'll
that
try to
footage.
find it. It's somewhere. It
Yeah.
was like September something. I think I almost remember the date. I think it was September 5th. I remember the day,
There you
September
go.
5th or something like that, 2019. So you think like winning my first race, like, because when I won my first Bandolero race, that was pretty crazy and stuff. But like all those other memories, winning a Triple Crown championship, all that stuff. But no, not really. If for some reason it's that race, I don't know. Maybe it's just because like I was like the kid from the bandos, and it was like it felt so much bigger than what it was. It felt bigger. That race felt bigger than the truck race I run. Like
Oh
that's
wow.
how it felt in the moment. I was like, oh, this is it. My whole life's gonna change, even though it probably won't make that much of a difference.
Oh man, that's great. That's great stuff. Now, I spent a little bit of time researching you specifically for this interview, and I landed on your YouTube page and see that you're big into iRacing, and I want to talk about that a little bit because um, you know I'm sure you're aware, but to viewers out there and NASCAR fans, there's a guy who won the Daytona 500 this year, and William Byron, that really got his start in a similar manner of grinding on iRacing, and then he told his parents he wanted to do this, and they got him into a seat, and obviously iRacing has been beneficial a lot to the youth specifically. It seems like, and now some of these older drivers or more experienced drivers have even gotten into iRacing. I know Dale Jr. is a huge supporter of iRacing. Um, how much does iRacing help you prep and give you that seat time that you may not be getting in a real car, and kind of keep you dialed in? Like how beneficial is iRacing to you and where you're at right now?
It's and people like a lot of people don't understand or like roll their eyes when I show up to a track. I'm like, oh, I'm good here on iRacing, but I'm telling you, it really helps a lot. Like, so my first late model stock race was at Florence, and it wasn't on iRacing, and I was horrible. But then we went to
Mm.
Langley 2 weeks later, and I'm like, oh, I'm really good here. And they're like, oh, it's just iRacing, and I was up to speed right away. Like, it felt like when I went there, it felt like I've been racing there my whole life, and I've literally never been there once in my life. And it's the same thing with Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil is on iRacing. It felt like I've been there my whole life. Like, it really helps. Like, yeah, maybe it isn't exactly 100%, but I mean, you have to be able to tell. Like, I feel like if you've been playing iRacing and racing in real life long enough, you can kind of,
You
it's
can find
easy
the
to transfer.
similarities that
Like,
help you.
yeah, but there's also like differences. Like, you can't get away with certain things on iRacing you can in real life. Like, takes some common sense. So when people say it's different, it's like, yeah, but I mean, come on. But
Basically, you
um,
can't go video game mode like Ross.
yeah, no. But iRacing is honestly really realistic, and like Milwaukee Mile that I got coming up with ARCA. I mean, it's on iRacing, and I like that place. So I feel like so far, every track I've been good at on iRacing, as soon as I get in the car in real life, it's like I'm up to speed right away.
Awesome.
My best lap I ran in the truck all day was on the first lap of practice, the first up to speed, full speed lap. So
Wow,
Wow.
I
So
was
you just went
impressive.
you
right
just
away.
went at it, man.
Yeah. So luckily, at this level in the late models, not every track's on iRacing, so some tracks are kind of a struggle. But luckily, with the trucks and ARCA, for the most part, we're ARCA. But everything with trucks, maybe exception of one or two tracks, it's all on iRacing. So no, it's a great tool, and yeah, if you're not using it, you definitely should. I feel like it really helps, and at the end of the day, it's just laps. It's just another car to get around the track with, so you're not
Absolutely.
going blind.
Do you have your
Now,
own rig at your house, or is that something set up in a shop? Or
Yeah, I have my own rig at my house. It isn't anything
awesome
crazy, but
goals.
yeah, it's nice. But I love iRacing. It's so much fun. Yeah, especially the short track stuff.
Oh yeah, short tracks are
I'll,
always
I'll
fun.
I'll tell you, like, I'm a fan of racing in general, and a fan of the sport. But when COVID happened, and everything was shut down, iRacing really, some of NASCAR's elite were doing it, and there was the live streams and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh man, this is the closest thing I've had to live sports in a while. But I really started to get interested in it. I can't believe how detailed it is now. I play games casually, and like I've had the NASCAR games that have been out, like Ignition and stuff. And to me, the physics and stuff, obviously that's why NASCAR and iRacing have now partnered for a new console game. But yeah, I'm excited when I see that iRacing's on YouTube or something. I'll tune in. It's fun, and I really enjoyed watching your stuff and how you put the headset on and you kind of talk through the race. And
Yeah,
it's really you make it really enjoyable to watch. You should definitely do more of that. I feel like that's something
I
that
need a new
we
computer.
yeah we
we were
That's the
we
I,
first
were
step
just
before I start
discussing the
doing that
same
stuff.
thing, man. It's time for upgrades on our
yeah.
computers too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel though, like, that's really fun engagement. Now, okay, so you had IRP. Now you kind of just mentioned and took the lead a little bit there on your next race in 2024 is the Milwaukee Mile. So what do you got going on in Milwaukee? Why don't you share with us how that opportunity came about, and what you plan on doing in Milwaukee in a few
yeah,
weeks?
yeah. So basically, after Lucas Oil was approached by actually a lot of teams, honestly, it went really well. To be honest, maybe the finish wasn't the best, but you know, overall, it was a pretty good day. But yeah, Caleb Coster wanted me to come back, run another race at Milwaukee, so we made it happen. So I'll be back there August 25th. I think practice is on the 24th or something.
And remind everyone your card number and sponsor that you'll be running at that event.
93, and I have no idea for sponsors yet. So
Okay.
let's see. But I do know
Now,
Performance Cleaners will be on the car, which is Caleb's company. So
Awesome.
okay.
Awesome.
Okay, that's awesome. So that's CW Motorsports then in the ARCA series. And I think that race is going to be on FS1 if I'm not mistaken.
right,
So
yep,
hopefully everybody's tuning in, watching our dude Tyler there. But Tyler, I want to talk about that. And Don brought up a great point in sponsorship, and there's no better time than the current time to talk about it. So sponsorship opportunities, obviously, they come, they go. People approach you. You may have to approach people. I'll do a shameless plug for you right now. If you are watching this and you have ever thought about being a sponsor, having your name or your company onto a race car, it's not as hard as you think. And there's opportunities out there to support our guys that are up and coming, like Tyler Tomassi. So if you're interested, reach out to us at Side Draft Media, or you can reach out. Tyler's handles there on this broadcast as well at Tyler Tomassi on Instagram. So reach out. We can help make that happen for you. And it's exciting. And unfortunately, we know we're well aware, but not everybody may be. It takes a lot to make these cars even just see a racetrack. And sponsorship dollars are one of them. So
And I know for sure you got a couple new fans down here in San Antonio, and you got one brand new fan up there in Pennsylvania rooting you on, bud.
thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to mention now. So when you have offers coming in, right? Seat time offers coming in, say from the ARCA series or the Truck Series, and maybe even more. How do you balance getting seat time in the lower series versus moves that will help push your career forward? You kind of, it seems like you have to kind of play chess a little bit. How do you balance all that?
Yeah, I mean, so I always say this to people: if I could do it the right way, I would. I'd spend a full season in ARCA, full season in trucks, but it kind of is what you get is what you get. So if someone called a cup tomorrow and say go run, I mean, you got the budget's limited, so you kind of got to take what you can get. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So you just kind of
Absolutely.
go where you're gonna go, and it is tough being in this because you can't really develop. You kind of just have to like make debuts left and right with new teams and like relearn the wheel. It feels like every race. I mean, like I did the car store stuff this year, like 2 races, but had debut with them, learn a whole new team, and then okay, bye, next team. Like, because it just like it's. I would love to stay with one team, focused on like one series, but it's just really tough right now because you gotta kind of go where you're gonna go, and the lower series are harder to get sponsors. It really
Right.
is. Once you start getting the trucks, Xfinity and stuff, it's a lot easier. But ARCA is definitely probably the toughest. So, but yeah, you just gotta kind of go with whatever comes up. To be honest.
You
Yeah,
mentioned
no,
going
and
back and you
go
mentioned
ahead,
going
Don.
back and forth. I'm sorry, Ryan. You mentioned going back and forth between ARCA trucks, different series. How hard is that for a new racer? And I say new because you are much younger, but how hard is that adjusting from vehicle to vehicle, or is it just second nature? You're jumping in and you're going.
It's not really the car; it's more of adjusting from team to team.
Okay.
To be honest, it's when you start jumping around. Now, obviously, well, yeah, at Lucas Oil it was difficult because the ARCA team and ARCA is like a whole different vibe and just a whole different. It's more of like a local team, and then the truck was like like big time. We're not messing
Right.
around, and it's like you got to get used to who you're working with, spotters, and all that stuff. So it is difficult because you can't really build relationships with people and you kind of come and go. But Caleb's really good, and so is Josh. And hopefully we do more races with the both of them in the future. But like I said, at the end of the day, like I would love to stick with one team. But as of right now, it is kind of whatever comes my way, I got to take. But I am kind of still looking for a home, but hopefully it's with someone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and we really hope you get that because you know it's hard. It's got to be hard to develop as a driver, bouncing around from place to place, and everybody needs that comfortability, if that's a word. But I can kind of understand. I mean, it's like having a job here one day, a job here the next day, and just yeah, that definitely you want to settle in. Now, I guess, like you said, the car's your office, right? So the car, once you get there, you know the gas pedal's the gas pedal, the brake's the brake, and you're going to go. But those opportunities is what the most important, and consistency. So we know you're coming up on a race at Milwaukee. Are there any more plans in 2024 that we'll be seeing you on the track, or is that all still in development?
It's I have big stuff in the works for later this year, but it really is totally 110% dependent on how Milwaukee goes. So
Right.
the
No
funding is
pressure.
there for upper series. The
Uh-huh.
funding is there for upper series beyond trucks. It's just kind of sitting and waiting to see how Milwaukee goes and what happens after Milwaukee. To be honest, so
And for
Milwaukee's
and
got
for what it's worth, I hope you kick butt at Milwaukee, bud.
yeah. I hope so too.
Absolutely, man.
Just have to
Absolutely.
finish the race and have a good run.
Consider us your ringman in the back corner going like this. Come on, you got this,
Yeah,
it's but yeah, I mean that's exciting. I know you hinted there upper series. So we obviously we want to see that happen for you. And I think that's got to be goals for you as well. But I get I guess when you're so used to taking the approach of one race at a time, and that's really all it is. Now I coach football. I know it's not apples to apples comparison, but I always tell the kids you're only as good as your next play. I don't care about what you did here. It's about the nothing like the present. So and in a situation where you're constantly either clawing and scratching for rides, seat opportunities, or sponsorship opportunities, nothing like the present, my man. So go get it, crush them.
right.
Um,
I love that Ryan brought up the next play mentality, because as a racer, when you're on the track and let's say you have a bad lap and you're half a second slower than you were the lap before, how easy is it to get that stuck in your head, or how easy is it to move on to the next lap where you don't even think about it, just full steam ahead? Is that stuff that
Yeah.
sticks with you as a new racer? And I keep saying new racer, but as far as in these upper series as you get more established.
I mean, I don't know what it is, but at the upper series, it's almost like it's easier to move on. I don't know why, but like in late models, I would beat myself up about that. But it just seems like at this level, it's like forget it. I literally not. I didn't knock the wall down, but I did hit the wall in practice in the ARCA car. So and then I forgot about it like 30 seconds later.
Awesome.
And
Good
it's just
deal.
like, but in the late models, it wouldn't be like that. I'd make a mistake and I'd be thinking about it for the whole day. So I don't know what it is, but it's like maybe it's just because you're just so locked in at this level because it's just like, okay, now you're here rather than the late models you're trying to get there. So
Right.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Now I have a question that you talk about the ARCA car, and then you ran a lot of laps in one day in two different cars. So can you explain the difference between going from an ARCA car to a truck? Because you said that part was you were locked in, that's your office, but there's got to be difference. I mean, the trucks obviously looks bigger. I mean, so it's got to drive differently than an ARCA car does, and as you move through the series, obviously we know that the Cup Series car and the Xfinity car completely different as you move, and then the truck is its own entity. The truck racing itself, I mean, every time we tune in and there's a truck race tonight, I know I'll be dialed in. It's exciting racing. It seems like they pass well. But can you explain the difference in those series, like and how one car may handle versus another? What adjustments are you making behind the wheel?
So the ARCA car, it feels heavier than the truck for some reason. I don't know why, but it just does. But the ARCA car is like you have to be a lot more easier. Like you have to not lift earlier, but you lift, you kind of ease into the brake. The brake pedals are a lot more squishy. ARCA brakes are real; they're horrible. The ARCA not good. I the,
Wow.
there was a wreck in 1 and 2 when I was at the start finish line. I seen it and slowed down. I still almost got into it. The guy next to me hit it. It's like for some
Wow.
reason these cars are hard to slow down. They're not like super late models or pro late models where you just stab the brake and they just stop.
Yeah.
Um, but
I was today years old when I learned that, so thank you for
Yeah. I
telling
was just
us.
about to say, I love this
Yeah,
because I am learning, man. I love it.
yeah,
so
yeah.
the ARCA car, at least the one I was driving, right? Like I said, I don't have like I'm sure that the top cars probably do have brakes that can stop on a dime and probably have they probably drove like what my truck drove like, but in an ARCA race. Um, but the if you lift and it's like the weight in those is a lot slower. Like they kind of slowly roll over, and you can't really drive it in the corner, and you can't get hard on the brake. You kind of have to let it. That's how I hit the wall. I get too hard on the brake because they just get very loose on the braking, and they kind of they're very lazy. The ARCA cars are just lazy. Like they're not like they're just like move. So that's not really my style. I kind of struggled with that somewhat. I mean, they still weren't too bad, but the truck really helped because the truck kind of drove, like I said, my truck probably drove like what the good cars drove like in ARCA. So I kind of knew what I was looking for. But the
Mm,
trucks, I mean, those things drive like go karts. Like seriously, like I don't know if it's because I was in the ARCA car, so it felt a lot better than what it was. But the brake pedal and that thing's amazing. I mean, you hit the brakes. Those cars, you kind of drive it into the corner. You want the nose to drop. You want to
Right.
kind of get loaded up on the front, and then so you kind of harder on the brakes, kind of let it wash up, and it turns like this. It just turns. And I wasn't even in a top car, and it drove that good. So I can't imagine what like Corey Haim's truck drives like. But
mm.
they,
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, I've raced some go karts, and so I kind of understand what you mean as far as diving in, and your approach is different, and versus those ARCA cars where like I'm hearing that. So it sounds like I would be better off starting in a truck myself one day, than,
trucks just have a lot more.
than an ARCA
I
car.
think they have a lot more downforce. Like they're more sealed off on the front. And like I said too, I feel like I was in a better truck ride than I was ARCA car, if that makes sense, even though they kind of finished in the same spot. It's just for the series it was probably better equipment I was in. So it's probably why it felt so good. But it just they're in the track. Like the ARCA cars feel like you're on top of the track, you're constantly fighting it. The trucks feel like they're in the track. You're planted, like you don't feel like you're going anywhere unless you get hit. So
Now,
Wow.
is there a huge difference in the ARCA and truck as far as where the car is rotating through the turn and where you can actually accelerate out of the turn? Does it feel like you can run better or worse, higher or lower in the ARCA compared to the truck? Like,
It's
give
like
us an idea of that.
you're hitting the same marks. It's just like a little more. So like you're lifting in the same spot, but like in the ARCA car, like you might lift like a tad earlier and use a little less brake, just because. Well, you're kind of using the same brake. It's just there's less brake to be used. So
Okay.
you got to kind of lift a little earlier. It's this exact same line. The car kind of turns in the same spot. It's just you're talking probably like a couple tenths of a second of a difference, but I would feel it where it just feels like the truck was a little more responsive, kind of turned a little earlier and had a lot more bite off. I'd say that's the difference. You have to really be easy off with the ARCA cars. You can't just smash the gas. I'm sure, like I said, some people probably can, but at
Right.
least cars I was driving, like the truck had a lot more drive off. But it just overall the truck's a lot more stable. It's just a lot more comfortable.
Which is a really interesting thing that you say, because I was just talking to Ryan about how crazy those trucks can get sometimes. When you see those guys going all out, especially on the green white checkers, man, they are literally sideways, even just coming out of the turns and going into the
Right.
turns. So yeah, that's
ARCA
great
cars are just,
information, man.
I mean, you see it all the time at ARCA. There's a lot of dumb looking wrecks, like wrecks that just don't make sense. And kind of, but now I even laughed at this stuff. But now when I'm out there, like I understand, like okay, now I understand why guys pile into a wreck 20 minutes later, like because these cars just don't stop. And like you
Right.
get on the brakes and they just start spinning out. It's like what?
Yep.
So the truck, yeah, the truck's great. The truck, I really like the truck. The truck fits my style a lot. So
Awesome.
So I have a question for you. And this is really kind of like series specific. So your race in the ARCA series where ARCA has breaks. You get um kind of rest time to
mm,
make adjustments on the car, pit stop. It's not a live pit stop. You don't have a full over the wall crew like you see in the higher series. And then you make that move into the truck series where you do have that pit crew and you are making live pit stops. How how's that different, and how do you prepare for live pit stops when you've never done it before? Does the team have you down, and do you get to practice with them, or is that just is that something that you're doing in iRacing and hope it translates to the actual track?
yeah. So I would say the one thing that iRacing absolutely does not help in is pit stops because it's so unrealistic. Because first of all, if you even want to be competitive, you have to stay all the way to the left, drive through everyone's pit stalls, like on iRacing. I'm saying, so you can't really practice a real pit stop. So,
On top of the
um,
fact that there are real human beings on pit road and
right.
compared to iRacing.
Yeah.
So in ARCA, obviously, I mean, it's really nothing special. I mean, you just go down pit road and park in your stall. I mean, you have 5 minutes. There's no point. I mean, I kind of went a little fast down pit road, came into the box just as practice because I kind of knew I had to do it earlier. But I mean, it really can't help you because nobody else is really trying.
Right.
So ARCA is really nothing special. Anybody can do it. Honestly, it's just you just go down pit road, you just pull in. The trucks. That was the one thing that I was truly nervous about. I wasn't nervous about racing at all. I was nervous about the little things like the media side of things. But in terms of being in a truck, nothing nervous at all except for pit stops. So that's what I was thinking about basically the whole entire time until I did my first pit stop. Like, oh, I can't pit road, pit road, pit road, because it's different. Like, not the speed. Of course, I had someone pit right in my box my first stop, so I had to come in all
Oh,
crooked and sideways. So my first stop didn't make me feel any better. It was the second stop where I stopped right on the sign. I was like, okay, I got this now. It's not as bad as I thought. Now, I can imagine that when you're racing up front, it's probably a lot more intense because you got people going left, right, every which direction. So, but yeah, I thought that it would be a little more difficult. Like I'd be like kind of overthinking it. But besides for the first pit stop, which was understandable, it's like just like I said, like you just get so locked in at this level. It's like you kind of just do it, and you don't even really know how you did it or how you did it that good. You just did it. So I couldn't believe it when I slid right in and stopped right on the side. I was like, okay, not that bad. Pit road speed though was a little. The first two times down pit road, I was way under my lights. Like I was going too slow. And then the last time I got it right, but of course, Lucas Oil, you really don't pit much, so I only
Right.
kind of got like I think 3 stops. Yeah, 3 stops, and 2 of them actually were like good stops. So I think for what it is, it was fine. But when we go to bigger tracks with green flag pit stops, that'll be the next thing I'll have to worry about. So once we get by that, I think it'll be good.
Yeah. Now, as these opportunities continue, are there going to be at facility training opportunities, or do you not see that as much with some of the smaller teams? It's just, you know, you're diving in the deep end, and here we go.
Well, so Josh does offer a lot of stuff. The tough thing is, at the end of the day, I live in Rhode Island, right? So
Right.
we are on a budget, and flying or driving to North Carolina 8 times a week or going all over the place isn't the best thing. The plan is, depending on how Milwaukee goes. If Milwaukee goes good, all I'm going to say is it's going to open up like basically a whole other door. If it doesn't go well, then I'm kind of stuck with the ARCA stuff and all that. And I got to kind of figure out, like I said, funding's really hard to find for ARCA, and it's kind of like for trucks. So the higher up you go, the easier it gets. So basically, depending on how that goes, probably going to move to North Carolina because it's going to save us money in the long run. Because I mean, just for example, I had to go do this ARCA race. I had to fly all the way down to North Carolina, stay for 2 days just to get fitted in a seat, and then go all the way back. Which I mean, I'm not complaining, but obviously, like I'm saying, money wise, like you can
A
see how
lot.
little things pop up where you can just be like, oh, I'll be at the shop in 20 minutes versus, oh, you need this. Okay, let me go book a flight. Let me go get a hotel. So,
All the fun
you
stuff,
know,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's still fun. I mean, you getting to fly all over the place to go. Well, I don't like flying, so. But
Yeah.
But
like
as far as getting to
I
travel,
drove to Indianapolis from Rhode Island. I drove. It was
wow.
15
Wow.
hours. And I was like, yep. And I'm debating on whether I should drive or not to Wisconsin. It's going to be far, but
Oh, that's a
once I
haul, my
fly, I'm like
friend.
sick for like 3 days after.
And
Would
see,
you
that's
say?
a great point because we're headed. Our executive Nathan and myself will be driving to Bristol for that race in September. And I think we kind of share a similar. Well, actually, Nathan's a lot better with flying, but I know in my opinion, I'm glad we're driving. I'm down for the road trip
Yeah.
because I'm not thrilled about
Basically,
flying.
it
I
has to
love
be
it.
like 12 hours
See,
before.
Ryan loves it.
I
And
don't.
get this, I'm afraid of heights, but I love flying. Go
Wow.
figure.
It has to be more than 12-hour drive for me to consider flying. Because if you really think about it, you're in the airport for like 2 hours. You fly for like 3, and then you're 2 hours to get the rental car or whatever, and you're trying to find the hotel and everything. Like, do you really save time? You may save like an hour if you think about it. So
Wow.
yeah,
Now,
I don't mind driving. I love road trips.
these other opportunities start to open up, these doors open for you. I think you're gonna have to start to adjust into flying some more because, uh, there'll be a lot more demand and a lot less time to get to places. So,
Yeah. Well,
hopefully
the
you can make that.
first step is move to North Carolina so that if I
There
ever
you
get
go.
a call on like a Thursday, hey, we need to race this Saturday. I can, instead of having to fly to North Carolina, then fly to the racetrack, I can drive to the shop and then, hey, maybe I'll just start riding with the hauler driver if I hate flying that much.
There,
See,
there you
there you
go.
go.
Head in the
I
back
love it.
seat.
He's thinking. I
I
love
just
it.
be like, you know what? I don't like flying. You guys can all take the private jet down there. I'm good.
Right. That would be so me, man. 100%.
Yeah, that's funny.
There was something that there was
Go
something
ahead,
I
Don.
wanted to ask before we get too far from it, but I was fortunate enough to ask a pit crew member that we've had on the show before, Mr. Michael Hicks, one of the most intense or scary moments that has happened in your racing career, and he shared a
Uh,
very interesting story about a pit stop that went bad. Would you be able to share something, maybe a very intense moment for you?
yeah, I wish I had the video, but it's pretty easy to find on YouTube, honestly. But so like I said, I made the jump. Well, so I had I worked with a good team in pro late models, but then some stuff happened, and I think it was my third pro late model race. It was like third or fourth or something. I honestly don't really know the exact number. To be honest with you, but so we tried to put together my own team, which was a complete disaster. It's very hard. Anything above local racing, good luck. So I had a very inexperienced spotter at a very fast track, Loudon, actually.
Oh
So
my goodness.
Oh wow. Okay.
I raced that Loudon twice. The first time I raced that Loudon, everything was good. I had a really good run. until my door blew off. I blew the doors off the car. No, literally, like the door blew off for no reason, just
Oh wow.
right out the car. So I finished
Wow.
19th out of like 40 cars, but I had like a top 10 run going. So anyway, I was really good there. I really like Loudon. It's fun. It's flat track. It's fun, but it's big track. Drives like a short track, kind of like how Milwaukee's going to be. But at an inexperienced spotter with a car that was absolutely horrible, like unbelievable. Shouldn't have even been out there. And we're going down the straightaway, and the spotter says clear by 6. And you watch the video, he didn't understand, like, we have draft, right? The guy will suck up on you, like, he'll come. So, and guy dies to my inside, spotter never says anything. I come down across his nose. I get turned at 150 miles an hour in
Oof.
corner entry, slide back up the track. I don't know if you guys know who Derek Griffith is, do you? He raced with Sam Hunt Racing.
Okay, I'm familiar with.
Anyway,
I'm familiar. Yeah.
I slide back up the racetrack. We both hit. We hit the wall head on. He flips over. I catch on fire. And
Wow.
he barrel rolls. My car's bursted in a ball of flames.
Wow.
Totaled. I wasn't really sad about the car being gone, but I was going to get sold after that race anyway. But
wow. First of all, I'm glad you're okay from that.
No,
right.
The safer batteries are great. You're fine. Nothing bad going to happen. But that basically, funny story, that almost ended my career because
wow.
I was really hated after that by everyone. Even
wow.
though I didn't wreck the guy, but I mean, I got wrecked. It was kind of, if you watch the video back, it was a little, I wasn't clear, but it was like kind of like 50-50 though. The guy kind of did dive it off in there. So it was one of those deals. It wasn't anything malicious, honestly, a racing incident, but, so yeah, that kind of like ruined my image, I would say, for good. This happened back in 2021, so it ruined my image, I would say, for like good like year and a half before I had like a podium finish. Once then all of a sudden you have a good run and everyone forgets about it. So
right. That's the nature of the sport.
Everyone loves you, and it never happened. So
yeah, and that's why communication's key, though, right? I mean, like you said, the spotter could have helped you avoid that. So
yeah, I just had basically, it was one of my friends never spotted before, so that was probably my fault. But stuff happens. Stuff happens,
Amen.
But no,
you're out there grinding. You're just trying.
After that, but I feel like the truck race I did and the ARC race I did, it's kind of like a reset.
Right. Now, so I want to ask you a little bit more about that too. How do you go about you went from late models out, you ran late models up in New England for years, and everybody in that area knows your name well because you did it successfully. But how is that transfer when you get a late model and you get these opportunities to go into ARCA and you go into NASCAR, the truck series? How's that experience getting your license to run in those series?
So basically, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but just to sum it up, it's kind of like you basically just, if you want to, so for ARCA, you basically anybody can almost run. But for trucks and stuff, you have to just, well, first, it's better to get with a team, have a plan, and then the team kind of approaches NASCAR for you. You guys kind of approach them together rather than you're just some random guy saying, "Hey, can I go race in NASCAR?" And then you never end up racing. Because that happens a lot. So basically, you just have to submit like a resume with literally like almost every single one of the races you ran, which that takes forever, by the way. And to make sure you have all your info right. You get confused, right? Whether you start, because they want starting position and finishing position. And finishing's okay, but sometimes you get confused on where you qualify. Like it's like 18th or something. Like you hear everyone say that. Like you don't really remember the exact. So you do all that, and then basically, I think it just goes to someone in NASCAR. Then they just look it over, and then they approve you. It's not really that complicated. Sometimes they'll make you run an ARCA race to get approved. That was not the case. I was approved for trucks already. I just ran an ARCA race because I wanted more seat time.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't knock seat time when you get that opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, listen, Tyler,
I got one more. I got one more.
I was going to say, he's got one more. Go. Yeah. I was going to say, I have something
for all
too.
the young drivers that could be watching this episode, Any advice for the younger generations that are coming up behind you, that are chasing dreams the same way you are? What kind of advice would you give these guys? Because we know it starts young, but man, we want to know, like, anything you got for them as they start their racing careers.
Bro, that was
Um,
totally what I was going to ask too, by the way. It's like
Awesome,
we got telekinesis going on here. That is awesome.
love
um,
it.
so like in terms of like racing, just if you can take your time moving up and learn and do all that, but honestly, I understand everyone kind of gets it now that sometimes you gotta take what you can get. But the biggest thing is more than just that, like, is like just don't give up because you'll be surprised on how things come together. Like I wasn't supposed to race this year, and just certain things came together that in the most weirdest and craziest ways for everything to somehow lead to me racing this year in NASCAR. And like I always knew I would make it, right? But I didn't know how all it would come together. So it's just kind of weird. Um so yeah, just don't give up because you'll be surprised all of a sudden. As soon as you're ready to give up, all of a sudden a string of completely random events will somehow happen and boom. So you don't know. It's gonna happen eventually. If it's meant to be, it will be basically.
Listen,
Absolutely.
you're literally speaking what has happened with Nathan, Ryan, and myself in this show, because 2 months ago this did not exist. Like, we are barely about 40 days old, and the same thing, everything just lined up. Boom, 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 boom. And now we got interviews, we got almost 40 videos on YouTube. Like the same exact thing. We had no idea, and everything just kind of snowballed all at once.
Yeah.
It's
It,
crazy, and you say you say you weren't meant to race this year, but clearly you were, my friend. And you got some good stuff hopefully coming down the pike, and
like,
we're here to support you with that, and we look forward to hearing this news as it develops, as your career blossoms. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I appreciate you coming on here today and opening up and the world of Tyler Tomassi and letting the NASCAR community and racing community know who you are, because I believe they're going to be learning a lot more of your name as the rest of this season. We got racing till November, right? So we got lots of opportunity yet this year, and then what 2025 holds. So we wish you all the best.
thank
I
you.
thank you for coming on here. I thank Evan for helping arrange this and getting you
Yep.
on here. And best of luck in Milwaukee, man. We're in your back corner supporting you all the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, and thanks for letting me on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you so much, Tyler, from everybody here at Side Draft Media, man. We really appreciate it. We're rooting for you, bud.
All right, thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Yep. Take care. Oh man. So here we go again. Another great interview on the Side Draft Media podcast.
What a great kid,
First
man.
driver, yeah, first driver, great up and coming talent. Kid's got his head on his shoulders, and I know I mentioned it before, but viewers, if you're watching this, and you have the opportunity and always wanted to maybe invest in sponsoring a race car, it doesn't take as much as you would think, and it's guys like Tyler Tabassi that need that support. So reach out. You can reach out to us at Side Jeff Media or directly to him. We'll get you connected. But great stuff, man. I'm really excited for him, and to watch him at Milwaukee is going to be really really fun. I'm gonna be glued into that ARCA race for him.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited to watch, and just to piggyback on what you said, a lot of these smaller businesses, it really does not take a lot to get on a car. Get your logo out there. And like Ryan was saying, reach out to us, reach out to Tyler, reach out to his PR guys. You'll get your name on those race cars. It'll help him out. It'll help you guys out. I mean, it's not hard, and all you got to do is a couple clicks. Really, that's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. NASCAR actually just released a report that they have the highest brand awareness as far as advertising through all major sports. So, it's certainly a great opportunity to bring awareness to your to your
Absolutely.
to your companies, your brand. So, but
Absolutely. Another
man,
great episode from Side Draft Media. I know Nathan, he's watching in the back. We got to shout him out, our executive. He's always doing great things. Ryan, you're absolutely killing it, man. I appreciate everything you guys do. This is Don. This is Ryan for Side Draft Media. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Of course, we got to throw that in there. We want to engage with you. Tell us what you think about Tyler. Go check out his social medias. Follow him. Let's get that support going for this guy, because he's going to be a name we're going to be hearing in the future for sure.
Absolutely, and you got to see him here first, so
That's
this is a see it here first type of moment, and I strongly believe that. I think the kid's got his head on his shoulders right. He's got some great opportunities lined up, and I'm looking forward to seeing that all develop for him.
Absolutely. Ryan, thank you for everything, bud. This is Don. This is Ryan, my co-host, Nathan, our executive. This is Side Draft Media, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.